very tall, dark-haired, pale-skinned, and quite skinny probably as a teenager when she was first discovered. And it's likely that no one had ever praised her looks at all. She probably didn't feature in Victorian terms as beautiful, even pretty. And Rossetti, he wrote several times, "Beauty like hers is genius." And he used the features, fairly strong features with dark hair and expressive lips, to cast Jane in a completely new light. It was a bit like a plain-looking fashion model today, and then being cast in these roles, and everyone's perception of beauty begins to shift.
The exhibition it's essentially about two people, so Rossetti and Jane Morris. All the images in the exhibition are of Jane Morris, who was one of Rossetti's most significant muses. It started a few years ago. I was thinking about a picture in our collection, La Donna della Finestra, which is a picture of Jane Morris by Rossetti, and I was thinking about how we could make more of it, show it in a greater context, and I started thinking about a Rossetti exhibition and borrowing works from other institutions so that the people in Bradford could see our work alongside other contemporary works. It was through that I read a biography of Rossetti, which Jan Marsh had written. I got in touch with her and asked her if she could give me some advice and guidelines as to where I might find works, and we sort of worked on the theme from there.
I'm Jan Marsh, and I happen to have written biographies of both Dante Gabriel Rossetti and of Jane Morris. And so when I heard that this exhibition was going to be organised, I found it really exciting to bring together so many of Rossetti's images of Jane Morris, who was his muse and inspiration, and through his drawings and paintings, Jane became an iconic figure in the Pre-Raphaelite movement. Dante Gabriel Rossetti was one of the founder members. In fact, he was the moving spirit behind the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, which revolutionised British art in the early 1850s. It was like the young British artists of 20 years ago. Well, this is one of Rossetti's very finest chalk drawings. The subject, after the death of Dante's love Beatrice, he spotted the woman looking out of a window, looking down at him with compassion, and she is known as La Donna della Finestra, who soothed Dante's grief. And Rossetti, who imagined himself as a latter-day Dante, it was his namesake, cast Jane as the compassionate woman, and indeed she was. She loved him dearly and looked after him when he had his breakdown. Well, Jane Morris's story is really a Cinderella one. She grew up in Oxford in a very poor family household. She was probably working in domestic service, and Rossetti and the other painters were working in Oxford on a sort of high-spirited vacation project, and they didn't have any female models. So one evening at a touring theatre company, Jane and her sister were spotted by Rossetti and his friends and asked to come and model. Following her introduction to the Pre-Raphaelite circle, William Morris, who was Rossetti's friend and later business partner, proposed to Jane, and of course she was swept off her feet. It was a world she had no inkling of, but she just knew that she wanted to be there. But she was very self-contained and very private. And most of what we know about Jane until recently has been her images. But she was head over heels in love from the middle 1860s with Rossetti, when she began to sit to him for a whole sequence, first of photographs that he used in paintings, and then for the great sequence of subject pictures, where Rossetti was casting Jane. They're not portraits of Jane, they are Jane as Pandora, as Persephone, as Venus, and as Beatrice. So it's like a director and a favourite actor. And so she now features as an icon of beauty in that late Victorian femme fatale mood.